There is a very specific, very terrifying feeling that comes when you finally see 4 digits in your bank account for the first time. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've been grinding for months. Maybe you've been eating instant ramen, saying no to drinks out with friends, canceling subscriptions you didn't even know you had, and finally, you hit it. $1,000. And honestly, it feels weird. It's this bizarre mix of pride and absolute panic. On one hand, you feel like a king. You're like, I did it. I have savings. I am a responsible adult. But on the other hand, you realize just how fragile that number is. $1,000 is a lot of money to have, but it is absolutely nothing to spend. It's one car repair. It's one unexpected medical bill. It's like 2 months of groceries if you're trying to eat somewhat healthy. So you stare at that number and you get this paralysis. You're terrified to move it because you worked so hard to get it there. But you also know that if you just leave it there, inflation is slowly eating it alive. Or worse, you're going to get bored one Friday night and blow it on something stupid. You want to grow it? You need to grow it. But the gap between having $1,000 and having $10,000 feels like the Grand Canyon. It feels impossible. And that feeling, that paralysis of, I have a seed, but I'm too scared to plant it because I might starve, is exactly where most people get stuck. They treat that first $1,000 like a trophy to be polished instead of a tool to be used. My name is Marcus Sterling, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people can take a small amount of cash and flip it into a fortune, while others stay trapped in that safety mode forever, guarding a pile of cash that's slowly losing its value. See, the problem isn't that you don't have enough money. The problem is that nobody taught you the mechanics of the flip. We're taught how to save, sort of, and we're taught how to spend, definitely. But the messy, aggressive, slightly risky middle ground of taking capital and forcing it to multiply, that's where the magic happens. And that's what we're going to break down today. If you have $1,000 or even $500 and you want to turn it into $10,000, you don't need a 401k calculator. You don't need to wait 40 years. You need a blueprint for active income acceleration. So grab a coffee, sit down, and let's talk about how to build your first real level of wealth. Okay, first things first. We need to have an honest conversation about investing. If you go on Twitter or TikTok right now, you'll see some guy in a rented Lamborghini telling you that if you invest $1,000 into the S&P 500, you'll be rich. And look, I love the stock market. I love index funds. They are fantastic tools for preserving wealth and growing it slowly over decades. But let's be real for a second. If you take your precious $1,000 and you put it into the stock market and you get a respectable 8% or 10% return this year, congratulations. You made $100. You made $8 a month. That's not even a Netflix subscription anymore. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot invest your way from $1,000 to $10,000 using passive vehicles. The math just doesn't work. You don't have enough capital yet for the percentage returns to matter. When you are starting with small money, you shouldn't be looking for returns on investment, ROI. You should be looking for returns on effort, ROE. Basically, you are the asset. The $1,000 is just the fuel for the asset. I see so many people in their 20s and 30s obsessing over dividend yields when they have $600 to their name. It's like arguing over what kind of premium gas to put in a car that doesn't have an engine. You need to build the engine first. To turn $1,000 into $10,000, we need to look at aggressive, active strategies. We aren't waiting for compound interest. We are going to force the money to grow through friction, effort, and skill acquisition. Think of it like this. If you plant an acorn, passive investing, it might become an oak tree in 30 years. That's great. But if you're hungry now, you don't plant an acorn. You buy a shovel, you dig a ditch, and you get paid. Then you buy 2 shovels and hire a guy. We are in the shovel buying phase. So how do we actually do this? The fastest, safest, and honestly most reliable way to turn $1,000 into $10,000 is through what I call skill arbitrage. Here's the premise. You take a portion of your $1,000, let's say $200 to $300, and you use it to buy a hard skill or the tools to execute a skill. Then you sell that skill for pure profit. I know. Learn a skill sounds like generic advice your dad gives you, But stick with me, because the way you do this matters.
Let's take something specific. Let's talk about something gritty, like power washing, or window cleaning, or even something digital like specialized video editing. With $1,000, you have enough capital to buy prosumer-grade equipment. You aren't showing up with a toothbrush. You're showing up with decent gear. Let's say you spend $400 on a decent pressure washer and some surface cleaner. You have $600 left. You spend $100 on flyers or some targeted Facebook ads in your local neighborhood. Now, you aren't trading time for money in the traditional hourly wage sense. You are selling a result, a clean driveway. If you charge $150 per driveway and it takes you 2 hours, you are effectively earning $75 an hour. But more importantly, you have detached your income from a boss. You do 10 driveways. That's $1,500. You've made your money back plus $500 profit. Now you have $1,500. Do you stop? No. This is where most people mess up. They take that $500 profit and they go buy a PS5. Don't do that. Please. You take that $1,500 and you upgrade. Maybe you buy a surface cleaner attachment that lets you do the job in half the time. Or maybe, and this is the wealth mode thinking, you pay a friend $20 an hour to do the washing while you go knock on more doors. This is the essence of business. It's not magic. It's not some hidden crypto secret. It's literally buy equipment, sell service, reinvest cash flow to increase speed or volume. I've seen people do this with real estate wholesaling too. You don't need to buy the house. You use your $1,000 to buy skip tracing software to find phone numbers of homeowners, and you pay for the gas to drive around looking for rundown properties. You find a deal, you lock it up, you sell the contract. One deal could be $5,000 or $10,000. Boom. You hit your goal in one transaction. But getting that first deal, it's scary. You have to cold call people. You have to get rejected. You have to feel stupid. And honestly, that fear of feeling stupid is the #1 reason people stay poor. It's not a lack of money. It's a surplus of ego. We're so afraid of looking like we're trying and failing that we'd rather just sit quietly with our $1,000 in savings and pretend we're being prudent. Maybe you don't want to wash driveways. Maybe you don't want to talk to homeowners. You're an introvert. You just want to sit in your room and make money appear. I get it. I've been there. This brings us to the second path, the product flip. This is essentially buy low, sell high, but on a micro scale. With $1,000, you have enough cash to enter markets that the $100 guys can't touch, but the big corporations don't care about. You are in the Goldilocks zone of flipping. Let's talk about phones, electronics, cameras. If you have $200, you can buy a used iPhone with a cracked screen on Facebook Marketplace. You spend $50 on a screen repair kit. You spend an hour on YouTube learning how to fix it. You fix it. You sell it for $400. You just turned $250 into $400. That's a roughly 60% return on your money in, 3 days? Wall Street kills for 10% a year. You just made 60% in a week. Now imagine you do this with your whole $1,000. You buy 4 broken phones. You fix them. You sell them. Suddenly your $1,000 is $1,600. Then you do it again. But this time, maybe you buy a bulk lot of returns from Amazon or a liquidation site. The key here, and this is the part nobody tells you, is that you have to become an expert in one tiny boring niche. You can't just flip stuff. You need to know exactly what a 2018 MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM is worth versus the 8 gigabyte model. You need to be able to look at a blurry photo on Craigslist and say, wait, that's the rare lens. It's about information asymmetry. You are using your brain to find value that the seller doesn't see. I remember when I first started trying to flip stuff, I bought these, I think they were vintage sneakers. I thought I was a genius. I spent like $300 on a pair of Jordans I found at a thrift store. I was convinced they were worth $800. Turns out they were fakes. Good fakes, but fakes. I lost that $300. It hurt. I felt physically sick. I remember staring at those shoes thinking, I just set $300 on fire. But here's the thing. That $300 loss was tuition. I learned how to spot fakes. I learned to verify before I buy. The next time, I didn't lose money. The time after that, I made money. If you're afraid to lose $100, you will never make $10,000. You have to view small losses as data acquisition fees. You are paying the market to teach you how it works. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. Let's say you've been hustling. You've been pressure washing driveways or flipping phones or wholesaling houses, and you look at your account. $4,000. You started with $1,000. Now you have $4,000. You have effectively 4 times your net worth. This is the danger zone. This is the point where your brain starts to whisper to you. It says, hey, you worked really hard. You deserve a reward. You should upgrade your car. You should get that new apartment with the nice view. It's the I deserve it syndrome, and it kills more wealth than any stock market crash ever could. When you hit that middle mark, $4,000, $5,000, you feel rich compared to where you were. You look at that balance and you think, I can finally breathe. I can finally buy the thing. Don't. This is the valley of death for beginner entrepreneurs. Seriously, if you take that $4,000 and you go put a down payment on a BMW, or you move into a luxury apartment where the rent is $2,200 a month, you are killing the baby. You are taking the seed corn that was supposed to feed you for the rest of your life, and you're eating it for a snack. You have to stay fake broke. This is a concept I try to drill into people's heads. Fake broke means your bank account shows $5,000, but you are living like you still have $12. You are eating the same sandwiches. You are wearing the same shoes. Why? Because $5,000 isn't spending money. It's soldier money. Every dollar you have is a little soldier that you can send out to capture more dollars. If you spend them on a car, you are firing your army. You are sending them home. And now you're alone on the battlefield again. To get from $5,000 to $10,000, you need every single soldier on the front lines. You need to take that $4,000 and ask, how can I buy larger inventory? How can I buy better ads? How can I outsource the boring stuff so I can sell more? This is the hardest part. It requires discipline that 99% of people just don't have. They get a little taste of success, and they immediately consume it. You have to starve your lifestyle to feed your business. Okay, so you stayed disciplined. You didn't buy the car. You're sitting on $5,000 or $6,000. Now the game changes again. To go from $0 to $1,000, you used grit. To go from $1,000 to $5,000, you used skill. To go from $5,000 to $10,000, you need velocity. Basically, you need to do what you've been doing, but you need to do it faster, much faster. If you're flipping phones, you can't just buy one at a time anymore. You need to buy lots of 5 or 10. You need to turn your inventory over every 48 hours, not every 2 weeks. If you're doing a service business, like the window cleaning example, this is where you hire your cousin or a neighborhood kid. You pay them $20 an hour to do the actual scrubbing, while you spend your time on the phone closing more deals. You are moving from being the operator to being the owner. And yeah, it's scary. Handing over your money to buy bulk inventory feels risky. Trusting someone else to do the work feels risky. But here's the math. If you do it all yourself, you are capped. There are only so many hours in a day. You physically cannot scrub enough windows to make $10,000 a month unless you never sleep. But if you clone yourself, if you have systems, the ceiling disappears. At this stage, you are looking for force multipliers, software that automates your emails, virtual assistants, VAs, who handle your scheduling. You are pouring gas on the fire. You aren't just trying to make money. You are trying to make money efficiently. And you'll notice something weird happen around $7,000 or $8,000. The momentum takes over. You stop worrying about every single penny, and you start looking at the flow. Money starts coming in while you're asleep because you set up a system 3 weeks ago. That is the feeling of wealth. It's not the number. It's the detachment of time from money. And then it happens. You log into your banking app. You see the comma. You see 5 digits. $10,000. You did it. You turned thin air, grit, and maybe some window cleaner into a 5-figure bank balance. But here is the shocking part, the part nobody talks about in those hype videos. You won't feel like you're done. You won't feel like retiring. Actually, you'll feel kind of hungry. Because once you realize that you have the power to turn $1,000 into $10,000, you immediately realize you can turn $10,000 into $100,000. The mechanics are exactly the same, only the zeros change. Instead of buying one phone, you buy a pallet of electronics. Instead of cleaning driveways, you start a property management company. Instead of wholesaling one house, you buy a rental property. The skill set you just built, the discipline, the risk management, the sales, the hustle, that is the asset. The $10,000 is just the scorecard. And honestly, that's the real secret. The money is cool. Having a safety net is amazing. Sleeping well at night because you know you can cover an emergency is priceless. But knowing that you can lose it all tomorrow and earn it all back next month because you have the skills, that is true financial freedom.